Today, I am joined with Marques Ogden, current National and International Keynote speaker and former NFL athlete. Marques, welcome to the show.
How are you? Thanks for having me on, Kat. I appreciate it.
No, I'm great, and I'm excited you're here. I was wondering, before we dive into some questions about your work, if you could tell us a little bit more about your background and how you came to do the work that you do.
Sure. So I'm from Washington, D.C. I now live in Raleigh, North Carolina with my wife and two daughters. We've been here since April 2013. I moved here after my business went bankrupt and I lost everything in a bad business deal in 2012, 13-ish. And I started keynote speaking after having a rock bottom moment of clarity when I was fired from two different jobs. And I took a job as a custodian working in downtown Raleigh for $8.25 an hour on the night shift from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. And that rock bottom moment of clarity woke me up and got me to realize that if I don't take control of my destiny, right, Kat, I was always going to be just right there, always in a spot blaming others and no accountability for my life.
That's powerful. I mean, losing a business and having things go south can be really hard. When you hit that rock bottom, as you call it, moment of clarity, what really helped you in that dark time, make that shift for yourself? Was there something?
So what happened, Kat, is when I had somebody's rotten meat, nasty protruding garbage, horrible smelling rotten meat all over my body, my skin, and my clothes, that made me realize right then and there that if I don't shift my mindset to start being more positive and start being more focused on getting myself going on the right track, then I was always going to be just right there in the same spot, blaming everyone and just literally always doing what I say, letting my story run me instead of me running my life story.
That's cool. So when you started to run your life story, what were some things that helped you with your own mindset and shifting that, like once you had that clarity?
So what I did was I focused on my three biggest strengths, and I realized I was a good communicator, I wanted to help people, and I was a good storyteller. So I tell my clients and I tell people I speak to different audiences, reverse engineer backwards. And that's when I discovered that, wanting to be a good storyteller, wanting to help people, a good communicator, maybe being a speaker will be great for me. Now, of course, I tell everybody when you start something new, don't expect to have a whole lot of success, a whole lot of, everybody beating your door down for work. But if your why and your mindset is shifted to make yourself believe that you're always in the right spot and you deserve everything coming your way, you can get to where you want to in life. So that's kind of how I, realigned myself at that time to be where I'm at now.
That's awesome. And that's really powerful because some people consciously or unconsciously make the choice to stay in that stuck place. And you really shifted it for yourself, and you've grown, you've done so much more work since then. I was watching your videos the other day on your website as I prepped for this interview, and I wanted to ask you about, because it kind of went along with a tagline or some of the copy I wrote for this podcast about, and I don't want to give it away. So I would love for you to share with our viewers the 3 G's to live your life by, because that really stood out for me.
So one of my good friends, a guy named Jamie Hopkins, who is the director of wealth management for the Carson Group, which is a very successful wealth management firm, which is headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska. He came up with this and I loved it. And I kind of put my own little twist on it. So live your life with gratitude, live your life with grace, and live your life with grit. So gratitude, always be grateful for what you have. I'm grateful I'm here on your show, talking to your audience, sharing our message, sharing our words. You never know who you might inspire. And then going to be talking about grace. Give yourself some grace. I tell everybody, just be even keel. If you have a success, phenomenal. Like today, I signed a new coaching client. One of our clients sent us a nice check for work we're doing next month. Awesome. But I don't get too high on myself. I mean, I'm very like this. That's awesome. It's great. and I'm like thankful, but then I go on to the next thing. And so the old Marques would like, celebrate things all day and just be really, arrogant with his construction company, all this stuff. That's not who I am anymore. So I'm very even keel when I have good things. And of course I have bad things. Like yesterday, I lost a couple of potential coaching client opportunities for people I've been working on for a while. And again, just don't get too low on yourself. So grace is all about remaining even keel in a situation. And then grit, without a doubt, having the ability to persevere and push through. Life is going to knock you down. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're as rich as Jeff Bezos or if you were a homeless person on the street. Every single one of us are going to have life knock us down in some way. You have to have grit to get through that process.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And when I was writing the copy, I mean, I love what you shared, because I had said something about the type of guests I wanted, and that they were going to share stories of how grit and grace align to invite people to leverage their heart and really show up differently. And so I just love that you shared that, and maybe I can piggyback and add gratitudes for that for myself. But I imagine like those 3 Gs too also really helped you shift your mindset when you dove into them, like you said. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, absolutely, without a doubt, because that's how I live my life now. Thank goodness for my good friend Jamie making me aware of this, because when I had my construction company, we had success, I was like the 3 Gs. But the minute we started having success, and I have a saying about that, Kat, if you don't own success, success will own you. Plain and simple. And so what I ended up doing is today when we're having success, I handle that success as part of the journey. It's not something I should be raving about or flaunting about or all this stuff, because if you continue to do that, God can take it away from you as fast as he gave it to you. It took me 5.5 years to build my construction business, right, Kat? Lost it all in 90 days.
Wow. That I can't even imagine. Well, I can, but what that felt like, to lose something you had built for 5 years. I mean, it must have been devastating.
Oh yeah. I mean, imagine I just met my fiance, who's now my wife. We met in July 2012, started dating. She moved in with me November 2012 with her, and now my stepbrother, who's now 18. And by the time we hit March of 2013, I'm bankrupt. I'm broke. I've got nothing. Home is foreclosed on, bank took it back. We picked up and we packed our cars and packed what we could and left behind what we couldn't afford to take, and packed it all in to our little cars that we had, into a moving company, and got down to Raleigh. $400 left to our name. That's it. Wow. And literally the cars, both of them got repossessed in the same day. We went from 2 cars to no cars to like just working and scrounging, and then getting one car, and we were just surviving on one car. And I just kept working and trying to do what I had to do. And finally we got another car, but it was like, an old, beater, just to stay afloat. So everybody's like, oh, Marques, you're so successful now. I'm like, yeah, but I know what it's like to fail. I know what it's like to scrounge. I know what it's like to have no money, no resource. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum.
Right. And I think that brings a lot of compassion for other people when you've been on both sides of the spectrum. Was it when you went through that period where you seem to have lost almost everything except for like you and your wife, was it really hard to tap into gratitude at first for you?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes, Kat, amazing question. No one's ever asked me that. That's a great question. Yes, because when I was going through everything, I had no gratitude. Like when I got down to Raleigh and was working at Merrill Lynch, I thought I was owed a job because, well, I lost everything. Take care of me. Well, here it is, right? All the stuff. Awesome. Nope. I ended up getting fired from that job. Went to a construction company, worked there for 5 days, felt entitled, gave me a company truck, company phone, company laptop. I told my fiance, or my wife anyway, I told my wife, I said, hey, honey, I've got a new job. I've got a truck. I've got a phone. I've got a laptop. I got first week's pay. Do you have a contract, Marques? Well, no, like, why do I have to worry about that? Like, oh, they owe me. Look at all what we got. We got $1,000 cash, laptop, phone. Like, we're home free. 5 days later, pow, I'm fired. phone they took back, truck they took back, laptop they took back, I kept the money. And again, at the bottom. So gratitude didn't come into play for me until September of 2013, after my spoiled milk moment. And that's when gratitude and everything started to come back even keel at that time.
Nice. It sounds like you really had to dive into the grit to come back from all that. Like
a lot of people would have stayed down, because here's the thing, it's easy to stay down. It's easy to stay down and say, poor me, feel for me, poor Marques, sorry for that. Yeah, that's the easy thing to do. But the thing is, life doesn't care about easy. Success doesn't care about your struggles or your failures or your mistakes. And honestly, people don't either. People, and my grandfather always had a saying, you know, Marques, I was like, Granddad, how you doing today? Oh, I'm doing fine, Marques. Like, really? It's like, yep. And if I wasn't doing fine, who would care? Right? Everybody's got their own problems. So my grandfather gave me a lot of knowledge and thought, and that really helped me when I had that moment of clarity to push through, because without my grandfather and the things he said to me and my father, all the things I had, I don't think I ever would have been able to bounce back and show grit through that tough time, you know, I had in that regard.
Yeah. So those earlier tough times that we grow through really help us cultivate grit. And when you can shift your mindset like you did, I mean, that grit, that experience and shifting the mind, you can go really far when you put, you know, when you just decide to turn it around, because where else is there to go but up sometimes, right?
You know, there's a great saying, Kat, a gentleman named Tom McCarthy talked about this in one of his book, The Breakthrough Code. He said you have to run your story. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Upgrade your story, upgrade your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people really don't understand that they are their worst own enemy. I have a saying, you can either be your worst enemy or your best friend. It's that simple. It's really that simple. If you're going to keep telling yourself you can't do something, you're going to fail at something, you're going to end up doing that. If you keep telling yourself, I can push through, I can achieve, I can go through hard times, you'll get through hard times. So like you said, it comes to that mindset, but like Tom McCarthy said, upgrade your story, upgrade your life, and you can either be your worst enemy or your best friend. You choose.
That makes a lot of sense, because I often, when I work with people too, I remind them that they get to choose. And I used to be my own worst enemy through part of my life, but I've chosen to be my own best friend and develop that. And I like how that, you know, puts that together and offering that choice to people, because it really makes a big difference. And I'm glad that you chose to be your own best friend. You also, you know, when I was researching about you, and one of the things I liked, you talked a little bit about servant leadership. And it sounds like through your life, that's probably been a shift to go into that place. And because I'm an acronym geek too, I saw that you had an acronym for SERVE. Maybe you could share a little bit about what SERVE stands for to you and the servant leadership aspect.
So basically, you know, the first letter in SERVE is be sincere, right? You have to be sincere in everything you do. Otherwise, how are you going to really relate to people and or be somebody people want to actually, like, you know, be around, right? The E is engage. So you have to engage people. You have to be present. You have to follow through on what you say. One of the biggest parts of building trust with people, Kat, is reliability. The other two are competency and having people's best interests. Most people, when you hire them or come to do a service for them or with them, or the case may be, they're competent, right?
Right.
Talk about people having your best interest. Unless somebody is trying to do you harm, they usually have your best interest. But reliability is the one where a lot of people fall short. Doing the job in the time frame that it needs to be done. That's where a lot of people fall short. The V is victory mindset. Okay, so this is all. I'm sorry. The engage. The R, excuse me. The R is resonate. So you have to resonate with people in order to get them to see you can build an emotional connection with them. So sincere, engage, resonate, V is victory mindset. This is where you have to put not just growth mindset of your own growth, your own advancement. It's everybody around you's growth, everybody around you's advancement. That's why I call it victory mindset, because you're not just focused on your individual growth, you're focused on everybody around you's growth and success. And the E is everlasting. Just keep it up every single day. It's not about serving people every other day, every once in a while, every week, every blue moon. It's about showing up every single day. So I think of like servant leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, Rosa Parks, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi. These were people that served. They were sincere, they were engaging, they would resonate with people. They always had a victory mindset, and they were everlasting. Think about Dr. King. Like, everything he did was sincere. He engaged everybody. He was relatable to so many people trying to fight inequality and racism. His victory mindset was that of everybody coming together, not just African Americans, not just Caucasian, he was everybody. And then everlasting. He died because of his cause, and he served a cause greater than themselves, greater than himself. And because of that, those are people I think about when you talk about servant leadership. And servant leadership is really just that, Kat. It's serving a cause and or working to serve your team. And the cause and the overall mission, the value is way greater than you.
I really appreciate that. And I love coming from that aspect of the servant leadership and other leaders who bring that to the table. I mean, I find that very powerful and admirable. And so I appreciate that, you talked about that. And I really like the acronym for SERVE and what it stands for. It resonates with me. And I hope that it resonates with the listeners. I'm sure it resonates with people that you work with and that you coach. It's powerful. And that victory mindset is, that's straight up. Like, when we have the greater good in mind, not just our own growth and our own, gain, we can do a lot. It's really powerful. And I love that, your story of where you've shifted from, how you lost everything and you've shifted to this place of becoming a servant leader. It really speaks to me, like, of that heart energy and coming from the heart when you include, other people in your growth and in your gain. How important is it, do you think, then, because of the leaders that you listed off, like, to have compassion, especially as a leader?
Oh, compassion and empathy is everything. Those are your emotional, intellectual powers. I call them your soft skills that you want to make your superpower. So think of it like this. Great leaders show compassion to people. And they do that if they have not been in their shoes. That innate ability, that human strand within them to ask, are you okay? How are things going? How can I help you? How can I serve you? I have compassion for where you are. That's huge. Then you have the empathy side. Well, you have been in their shoes. You have gone through the trials that they're going through at that moment, saying, well, I am so sorry. I totally am empathetic towards you. I've been in your shoes. I've gone through this difficult time myself. I know what it's like. I know it's hard times. It might be dark times now. Focus on this, this, and this to get you to the other side. So, for example, if someone is homeless, I am compassionate towards them. Have I gone homeless? No. I have almost been homeless, but I did not get that far, just by that much. So I have compassion for people who are homeless because I have not been in their shoes, but I have that human strand to say, how can I help you? I feel for you. Sometimes, most of the time, I'll give people $1 or $2, whatever I can, if I have it in my pocket, to help people because I'm compassionate towards them. Empathetic. If someone is going through a bankruptcy, I don't care if it's chapter 11, 13, or 7, because 7 is the worst. And I've been through a 7, a complete rehaul. Home was given up, cars were given back. My credit started that, basically had a 0. no credit cards. I mean, nothing. I had to start completely over. So I am totally empathetic, Kat, to people that are going through a bankruptcy, because I've been there. I don't care if it's 11, 13, or 7, because again, the 7 is the worst. And I had over $5.5 million of debt that I had to get myself and push out of my life. And I was able to do that through the bankruptcy. So if you're going through a bankruptcy, I am totally empathetic to your situation.
Yeah, that's powerful. Like when you or other leaders can talk to their people like that in a relatable way, instead of beating them up, cutting them up, making them feel bad. But I mean, it speaks volumes like to who you are, but it really does help, the people that we support. How do you really believe that will help shift the employee or the team member's mindset when they have a leader that really touches them like that, and help them?
Oh, Kat, it's everything. Because here's the thing. If people know and or feel that leadership, C-level executives and up, or even mid-level managers and up, really care about them, their development, what's going on at work, outside of work, it creates that emotional connection between you and the client and your team. And if people feel that you have an emotional connection and or tie to them, they are much more likely to say, yes, I would like to stay here, work here, and they're not out looking for other jobs, other opportunities. They get fully vested and or invested in the mission and the principles of the organization. So and that's like when I had Caden, we were doing well. I was focused on my people. I cared about them. We went on vacations together. I was a great leader. Everybody loved it. And they brought referrals, they brought their friends, and we just grew like crazy. But once we started making a lot of money and I started winning a lot of awards, I lit all of that. I call it external motivating factors, money, fame, notoriety, all those things were started getting in my head. And once it got into my head and my mindset shifted from being a great leader to a horrible boss, people start looking for the door. They start looking for other places to go. And it just started to crumble. And I was the reason the company started to crumble from the foundation. And once that, it was over.
Wow. And I appreciate your humility in sharing that. Not everybody would take ownership that they might have been the reason that it, was over or shifted. That's huge. And it makes me want to ask you a couple of other questions about it, but what was that moment when that shifted and people, started leaving? What cracked your heart open to realize that maybe your business and your life wasn't just about the money and all these external motivators that you talked about?
It wasn't until that rock bottom moment of clarity in September.
Then, yeah.
So the business failure did not do it. Losing my home and my cars did not do it. Having no money did not do it, because I felt it was everybody else's fault around me, not an issue of mine. So because of that, it was basically, how do I say this? It was just like filling up like a puddle. Like it was just a puddle of all these things, the failures also go into the puddle. It still didn't sink into my mind that I was the culprit. Not until I was on that curb, behind that building, taking that trash out, and that trash got over my body, my skin, and my clothes. That's when I realized that, wow, Marques, you were the culprit that pretty much destroyed your whole organization.
That's hard when we take ownership like that. It's not easy to do.
It's easy now. At that time, no, it was not easy. Right. No, it was not easy, because you're like, wait a second. Wow, you were the one. Wasn't your partner, wasn't the developer, wasn't the contractor, aka the client. It wasn't your team members. It was nobody but you. Marques, you were the one that agreed to do all this work without change order documentation. You were the one that was focused on awards and money and more money, and not taking care of your people. That wasn't their fault. That was yours. So yeah, that was a hard pill to swallow at that time.
And those things can be easy for most of us to get caught up in, when the awards and the kudos are coming out. I mean, it's because it feels good, right? And
sure, it feels great. You feel like you're like, wow, I'm on top of the world. Wow, I'm doing this. Wow, I'm doing that. And in reality, it doesn't really matter. Like, money, fame. I tell everybody, every business has to run off some sort of capital, fiscal, human, social, community impact, some sort of capital.
Right.
But the most prevalent one, in my opinion, right, is going to be human capital. Yes, you need finances to get a business started, but you can start a business bootstrap if you want for bare minimum and the barest minimum and necessities of finances, right? But I don't care what type of business you run. I don't care what industry. You're not going to be able to run it off bare necessity human capital. Because you get bare necessity human capital, you're going to get bare necessity quality product, which is going to basically put you out of business.
Right. And I wanted to ask you something earlier in the conversation, and you just nailed it. So when we invest in our people, like that really affects our bottom line in a good way long term, right?
It's everything, short term and long term. Absolutely. Because you're developing a culture and a atmosphere of togetherness. And if everybody comes together, you should be able to push towards a better, bigger, brighter tomorrow.
Yeah, you totally resonate with me. And I love that. And I appreciate that you said that because, it sounds like you're in it to win it for yourself and to everybody who's in your sphere and, in your world. So I appreciate that. I have a question that I want to ask you because you've gone through so much change in your life, personally and professionally. What do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be, Kat, that the person that people could come to, talk to, look at his content, wherever you want to call it, to help inspire them to take accountability in their life and also help them succeed in their own life where I failed. That's really what I want, because I feel if people could learn how to avoid some failures, then of course we're all going to fail. We're all going to have hard times. You can't eradicate or just make yourself invincible from failure, but you learn how to minimize it and to minimize your risk and your exposure. And that's what I'm all about, is helping people to minimize their exposure, their risk through my message, through my story, so they don't end up like I did, which is bankrupt, broke, and almost homeless.
Wow, that's powerful. And that you've been through a lot. And I love how you want to help, like in a nutshell, close the gap for people and help them learn from your own experience so that they don't have to struggle or, because like you said, no one goes through this life unscathed, but if we can help them, maybe avoid some of the big pitfalls like you're doing, that's cool. That's a great way to serve humanity. Yeah. So before we wrap up, are there any little tidbits you want to share with people about mindset or your thoughts on that or anything else that didn't get covered?
So I'm just going to basically say, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to elaborate like this. In order to have a super strong mindset, you want to be focused and disciplined and be a laser that cuts through a diamond, not a light bulb that's out there bright, trying to lighten up the whole world. Now, if you're trying to inspire people and push people in the right direction, yes, be a light bulb that's bright, that shines, that can help anybody see the light and get out of the darkness. Absolutely. But when you're trying to develop and really create an unbreakable, strong mindset, you have to be disciplined, you have to be focused. And when you do that, you create a laser-like mentality that can cut through a diamond. And then think of it like this: the obstacles, the hard time is the diamond. And when you pull from your superconscious, I learned this by reading, talking to one of my clients, is that your superconscious or your subconscious can be able to break down 40 million bits of information in a matter of seconds. And that's where you have to pull from to have that super strong mindset. You can't pull from just surface level because that's not going to do it, right? Which is why you'll see a lot of phenomenal athletes like MJ or Kobe or Tom Brady, or super successful people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs when he was alive. All these people I mentioned have pulled from their super, aka their subconscious. And that's where the magic happens. So to develop and sustain an unbreakable mindset, pull from your super, aka your subconscious, breaks down that, again, 40 million bits of information in seconds it can break down, but you have to get there. Once you get there and your mindset is fixated on that, and you learn how to give out maximum effort times maximum effectiveness to get maximum results, and you upgrade your story to upgrade your life, that's when the magic happens. So your mindset all starts with focus and discipline. So it becomes a laser that can cut through a diamond, and think about obstacles, adversity, hard times being the diamond that you can cut through with the right type of focus.
I like that. I'm going to start looking at obstacles as diamonds. I think, that it's a great analogy. And diamond, I mean, they are the strong material. They've withstood a lot. So if you can focus on them and garner strength from that, I mean, that's really powerful. Did you learn some of your initial thoughts on focus and mindset from the playing field? When you're,
of course, yeah. When you're playing football, football is like 80% mental. Like the mindset, have your mind tell your body what to do, where to be, how to push through injuries, being hurt, hard times to help your team win. That's what sports is all about. So absolutely, sports help to create that mindset for me to help me get my life back on track after I lost everything.
That's great. I mean, was it also sports that helped you with this idea of leading a team, or even business as a team?
Absolutely.
Everyone pulls together. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of great sports analogies. I have mostly sons, and one of them is a huge football guy. So I
like him.
I can appreciate.
I like him already.
That's awesome. He's a good kid. No, that's great. I really appreciate that because, sometimes, and I love how you touched on the super conscious, because some of the circles that I run in, people think, oh, that's just like a female thing. And it's not. It's for everybody to be able to tap into that. And so I love that you shine some light on that, for lack of a better word. It's important. Do you have any tips for people before we wrap up on how they can do that, or how they could reach you to get support to do that?
So they can reach me at our website, www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com. And they can email me at marques@marquesogden.com. And I'll tell them one thing they need to do. In times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. Aristotle said it best. He has some amazing quotes from over 3,000 years ago, and how before any type of technology, right? I mean, all the things that people, I don't know a person that doesn't know Aristotle. And I don't know a person who will never not know Aristotle, because all things he did were around mind, around, being a philosopher and thought and just all types of great stuff. But his quote is probably one of my favorites, definitely from him, but maybe one of my favorites overall, because you can focus on the light in the extreme darkness. That's all mindset is. That's all mindset is, focusing on that light to push through darkness and get you to the other side.
Oh, I really appreciate that, Marques. And I agree. Focusing on the light is so important. Thank you for being here, and, thank you for sharing your heart and your story with us, and your passion. Your passion and your heart really come through on how you want to serve people. So I really appreciate that. And, if anybody really resonates with you, I know you shared your website, but everything will be in the show notes. They can reach you. Do you have any special offers for people right now, or anything else you wanted to share? Or
yeah, if anybody contacts me, it's a free 15-minute consultation. And also I'm giving out based upon their issues and what they want to work on, a specific episode to listen to on our podcast that I feel will help them to get through that obstacle, that hard time. This way you can kind of see it's a free consultation. It's a free website. It's a free podcast episode they can listen to and start to build trust. So yes, anybody that contacts me through your show will get a free 15-minute consultation and also will get a one episode they should listen to right away on our podcast, The Lev and Marques Show, to help them through that hard time.
Oh, awesome, Marques. That's very generous. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed talking to you today. And, you know, we will maybe do this again in the future, but I love the work that you're doing in the world. And if people who are listening heard what you liked on this episode and got something out of today's conversation, you can show Marques some love by visiting his website, following him on social media, and any place that inspires you. So thank you. Until next time, please tap into what lights up your heart and take that deliberate, inspired action to create what you would like in the world.